Sort of creepy with the cameras and no people.
Mm-hmm. Does it remind you of all the porn you did to pay your way through college?
In my wildest dreams. I'd like to have been a gigolo.
There's still time. I want you to know that. Well, welcome.
Thank you, son.
My father cheated the big reveal, but this is my father. I'd like to welcome our absolutely delicious guests viewing at home and say a big welcome to my father, Daniel.
Thrilled to be here. I've heard about these episodes, and I'm not flummoxed yet, but hopefully we get through this and have at least one laugh.
I hope so. We had some laughs pre-tape talking about my father's missed career opportunities. So what we do here is, I pick out a candy that I think the guests might enjoy. A lot of times it's a surprise. This time, you sort of peek behind the curtain and it won't be a surprise. But I think you'll find it delicious nonetheless. The candy is in our Hungry Hippo over here. We have a working name. I believe it's Fiorucci.
Fiorucci.
Why don't you just tell me a little bit about your history with candy? Was there a lot of candy in the household? So it's an aspect of family history I don't know a whole lot about, and given that I've got a candy podcast here, I probably should know.
Well, I think I ate a lot of it growing up.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you when you were about 14, and you were pudgy.
I was a big guy. I believe clinically obese.
But I looked at the picture and I thought it was me.
So what you're saying is the elementary and middle school trauma that I faced really was generational trauma.
I can't speak for my...
and what was going around Cleveland back in the 50s?
Well, I mean, the basics. Baby Ruth.
Great.
Baby Ruth, Mars, Snickers, Pez.
Love Pez. I love Pez so much I can rarely get them in the dispenser before I eat half of them.
And Juicy Fruit. I like Juicy Fruit. And the Swedish candy that you introduced me to was the best since I've ever, better than Juicy Fruit, but similar in style. And of course, Necco Wafers.
Necco Wafers.
Yeah.
It's a teaser. We might be having Necco Wafers.
Hershey dark chocolate with almonds. That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, there's something to be said for the basics and good blocking and tackling, because everything you mentioned, it's an all-star lineup, and they're all still around today. And I think I might have enjoyed some Juicy Fruit yesterday. So still enjoying it over here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was a lovely bit of family history. I think right now we should dive in because as you cheated, you know what.
I didn't cheat. It was just right in front of me.
You're right. I didn't. It's true. You didn't cheat. Doesn't cheat. It was just you just saw behind the curtain. Some Necco Wafers. Now there was a discussion of whether you liked the multicolored or the chocolate.
I was right. My memory was right.
Your memory was right.
All
they
right.
did come in a multicolor. They did come in a chocolate. What's funny is, one, I was always partial to the multicolored. And as I think back to childhood when you would occasionally grab these, I don't remember the chocolate. And I almost took the chocolate out so that there'd just be one, but I left it in. And now knowing, I know you love chocolate cake. And so it doesn't surprise me that, so why don't you...
I'll go with the other one.
Oh, all right.
If you don't,
yeah, give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of my memory of the green, the lime flavor.
Before you tear it open, because we like to build suspense here at Candy Between Company, why don't you just give me your first thoughts of the packaging and just sort of what it's like holding a Necco wafer again?
Well, I remember it being about maybe 60% of the length. And I sort of seem to remember the packaging being a little bit more substantial. wasn't translucent as I might remember, but maybe I'm wrong. But
Well, I don't know if
it
it's
feels
changed
great to the
all.
touch,
It does feel great to the
and I'm
touch.
getting nervous. Just want to bite into it.
I understand. I understand the feeling. It's hard for me to hold back too. We just have I mean, for me, one, just hearing that, and I don't know, it could have always been the same packaging, which is one of the reasons why eyewitness testimony is notoriously fallible. But if all they did was make the packaging worse but give you more, they would be doing the opposite of basically every other candy right now, which is, nice packaging, but they're thinning it out a little, making it a little lighter. It's just sort of that,
Well, there's the
that
other
silent
variable.
inflation.
There's the other.
So we do a little segment for audiophiles on this, of which I know you absolutely love music and maybe categorize as an audiophile yourself. It's a candy ASMR section, and that's where we get quiet. And I'm jumping on the bandwagon here. It's kind of a theme among the internet kids. But we're gonna get quiet and then just.
And I've only had a hearing aid for a month, and I can hear it so much more.
Oh, real
so much
crisp.
better.
This is the perfect time. I wasn't sure. That was quite a delicate, and there's not much to do over here. There's nothing to really shake. So why don't we just dive right in?
All right. So you start with the white one. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it tastes like.
First impressions?
The great crunch. And I'm not sure which will break first, my teeth or peppermint. It's really good. It's certainly sugary. It really is a smooth flavor. Goes down smooth. But here's the.
And so you mentioned the great crunch. We like to give sort of a mouthfeel score here. And I can kick it off. I'll say that, I almost jumped the gun and said, do they taste as stale as you remember them tasting? Because some candies we've tried, like candy hearts or other things, feel like they almost come stale or candy corn. But these, where sure you could say that, but it's true. It is a great crunch.
Yeah.
Those don't necessarily have a great crunch. A little powder coating, thin, nice on the tongue. Flip it around, it's fun. But you really just want to crunch right through. I have to say, it's really more of a whisper of chocolate. Really brown, and you get a good sugar hit up front. Not a whole, if you just love chocolate, you'll want to go with these because they'll remind you of chocolate. But here, give the chocolate a try. And some more of a, we'll see what this one is.
Yeah, you sort of think you ought to be able to just sort of suck on it and let it last, but the urge to bite into it is seems to be a natural instinct.
It's my father over here. He gets me. I can't hold back. Maybe 2 licks on anything, and I'm trying to bite through it. One I just had was licorice, and there was definitely a stronger licorice hint. Do you get much chocolate out of that?
It's subtle. The green, the lime is you got a little bit more. It's a little more pronounced. You have that bite. You let it go down, and then you just want another one. It just is. It's addictive. It's.
If these were just 60% of the size, maybe they gave more because they were like, the people want more. They're powering through faster than we anticipated. Now it says on the packaging here, since 1847. So that's Necco.
I don't think this package is any more than a couple years old.
Well, I just mean that it's been. I hope. I hope these are not from 1847. in which case they might have not crunched when they were first produced.
Well, it depends what,
Now, I did not
how
know.
advanced the preservatives were. At that time.
It's like a McDonald's. What is it? You're supposed to be able to leave a McDonald's hamburger in the cupboard forever, basically, and it will never mold. It'll never get anything. So that's good. So 1847. Now, I didn't know this until I looked it up, but Necco stands for. Do you know what Necco stands for?
No.
Believe it's the New England. It's either candy company or confectionery company. And these were actually popular in both the Civil War and World War II as sort of a little sugar rush and rations for the soldiers.
Very
So
cool.
maybe they'll see another Civil War. Although they'd probably pick a different candy, is my guess these days. And the gentleman that invented this and started Necco was a chemist who invented a new pressing technique for pressing pills and realized that, would also work to press some sugar for a little preventative medicine and a little pick-me-up.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So
Love
we
it.
really love Necco over here. Well, we're just going to put these down for now because I've got one more thing down here, which also is a little bit of a trip down memory lane, at least for me.
Oh, yeah. It's Big League Chew. All right. This is having been a baseball fan of the Cleveland Indians, now Guardians. Baseball is it. I don't remember. I mean, I know if this is the same stuff where it's like shredded, I know I may have had it before, but it was never anything I can remember ever having purchased.
Yeah,
So
Big
it
League
exists.
Chew didn't come around until 1980. Fun fact. Invented by a former baseball player. I believe Rob Nelson and Jim Bouton.
Bouton.
Jim Bouton. Now, I don't often think of baseball players as like trying to find the healthy alternative, but it was invented as a fun, healthy alternative to chewing tobacco. And as a young baseball player, when I first had it, you definitely put it in your cheek and spit a little when you weren't chewing. And as a milestone, in 2023, they reached over 1 billion sold. So while you've never purchased them, a lot of people out there have purchased them.
My bubble gum was double bubble or a hard sort of cylindrical, like that much. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was double bubble.
Double bubble.
Yeah, you get them in a big canister and many different flavors too.
That
power a lot
postdates me.
Huh.
Should I open this up?
Yeah, why don't you tear through? I've been staring at that. I mean, and I wasn't sure, but because you never chewed much gum, I think, with me. But you were a fan of gum?
Yeah, I like gum. Yeah, I mean,
Who doesn't like gum?
yeah, but it was,
But not passionate about gum.
yes, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Have some gum.
I would love some. Let me just grab it. So definitely a fun shred. It's a fun pull. And you just stick a big wad in your mouth. Now, what I like about Big League Chew, the packaging, opening up, throwing it in my mouth, memories of childhood baseball. But as far as the flavor profile goes, your first hit with the whatever sort of powder they use to not get the shreds to stick together. But beyond that, it starts with just a little flavor and then it loses that pretty quick. So it's not a strong flavor, but I put a lot of it in my mouth. So there's a big pop of whatever it is. How do you feel about it?
Well, first thing I noticed was that while it went in, sort of had some firm texture to the strands as you put it in, as I put it in my mouth. It quickly got softer and smoother, and has maintained that. It hasn't gotten a hard chew yet. And I'm finding the flavor being pretty consistent, and at least in this short time that I've had it in my mouth, it still seems to be alive, and it's a good bubblegum taste.
It is a good bubblegum taste.
Yeah, but I'm about ready to get rid of it.
That's understandable. We got a tear here somewhere,
Yeah.
or you can just shove it down Federucci's neck.
No, I just, I don't want to be disrespectful.
But, I want to hear just a second about some of your fondest baseball memories.
Going to, well, this wasn't a fond one. It's only fond because it was a father-son experience. Went with my father to the 1954 World Series, the Cleveland Indians against the New York Giants, Willie Mays in company. And it was the series in which Willie Mays made the catch, running away from home plate over his head. A ball went over his head and he caught it. And I remember going down there on the bus with my father, and everybody's joyful and excited to be going to a World Series game. And the Indians got beat. They got beat 4 straight in that series, and it was real quiet going home on the bus. And it wasn't until a few months ago, 3-4 months ago, when I sort of recounted that experience, and I realized that, hey, it's with your father. My father was a very special experience. My father died of cancer probably 4 or 5 months later. So he must have been sick. Had seen it. And fast forward to this last season's October Classic was a much happier experience. I've lived the 4 or 5 months since, which is a start. But then you and son Will Best and I went to see the first game of the 2024 World Series, Yankees-Dodgers at Chavez Ravine. And Will, the Yankees fan, diehard, intense Yankee fan. You, a newbie LA fan.
It's been like 14 years, but yeah, I
Okay.
I support the Dodgers.
That's my
Go blue.
perspective. It's newbie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I, grew up as an Indians fan, and am a fan of any team that's in the city that I've lived in. But I grew up hating the Yankees, and still do. They always shellac the Indians. And then we're sitting there, and Will is so excited about the Yankees going to win, and we're sitting in right field, and we watched Freddie Freeman's home run. And while I hated the Yankees, I love Will, and all I could do was give him a quick, big hug, because I knew how bad I would have felt if my team was going to win the first game of the World Series in the other team's park. And lo and behold, at the very end, it's over. You lost. So those are 2 great experiences. Remember going to an Indians game in Cleveland when we moved back from Phoenix, where you were born. You were a little kid, and it was some sort of a celebratory night, which is at that point in time the only way you could get a crowd in Cleveland because the team was that bad. All of a sudden there's a crowd was yelling, and you started crying, and we had to leave because you didn't, the noise, which is crazy noise anyhow, it was tough for you. And on occasion, I had great season tickets behind home plate in Old Municipal Stadium, could seat 80,000 people, and they would often have 2,000 or 3,000 show up for a game, and had these great seats not very far behind home plate. And we'd go down early and get some food, you, Marley, and I. We would generally leave somewhere between the first and second inning because you'd had enough. But those are good experiences. Going to an Indians game when Frank Robinson became the player manager, Hall of Famer Frank Robinson, incredible athlete, and did the rare thing of being a player manager. It was the first game, opening game of the season. It was snowing in Cleveland. And the first time he came up, he hit a home run.
It's awesome.
Cool. I can go on and on and on.
Well, I will hop on there and say that, I mean, some of my favorite games ever were those mid '90s Cleveland Indians. Down a run with Albert Bell coming up to the plate, and you just knew he'd hit it out of the park, and he would hit it out of the park. Less, and that was in the Jake, now Progressive Field, and before that, I remember one game at Cleveland Municipal. I must have been 6 or 7, and my only memory of that game was, and these were all basically concrete seats, whatnot. It was a big concrete stadium, and it still stench of cigarette smoke. That's how nice Cleveland Municipal Park was. Back to the Dodgers-Yankees World Series. That was so incredibly special for me. Not only to see a game for the record books, but also I think your first time back at Dodger Stadium since your 16th birthday when you went with your mother.
Was there.
And for the record, you have also passed down a strong hatred for the Yankees, and I did not give Will a hug. I said, fuck the Yankees.
Yeah.
But, it's a bigger man than I am in that sort of a situation.
Yes.
Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you will join us for future episodes to try some completely new candy.
Great.
Because we like looking forward. It's nice to take a trip down memory lane, but we're here not only to cover the nostalgic all-stars, but to really explore, the whole world of candy out there.
I think for the sweet guy that you are, this is a perfect subject matter. And I appreciate the opportunity to share it with you, do an episode. And whether I return or not, as you find great candies, please introduce me.
Absolutely. And I might have talked smack a little bit too soon earlier on the flavor of the gum. Big League Chew still got a full. My dad got it out pretty quick. I'm still going for it. I still got flavor. So I like to offer my sincerest apologies to all those out there working hard on Big League Chew, and deep gratitude for being at least an integral part of the 50, you're 50% of my being here, and even more for me getting all the way here. So I love you.
I love you too.
And thank you. And let's do a. And I'd like to tell our audience, maybe really the first time I've said it, but I love you too. And here at Candy Between Company, we hope you find just a little bit of sweetness out there in your day. Thank you for joining us.
Bubble up.
Bubble up.